When three young burglars break into the home of a blind Army veteran in hopes of easy cash, they quickly realize they've made a serious mistake.
Who's there?
Okay, man, just chill, alright?
The man turns out to be far more dangerous than they thought, and what they discover hidden deep inside the house is something none of them were prepared for. Everything begins in Detroit, where our three burglars, led by a young woman named Rocky, break into a luxury home.
Just like last time, no cash and total take has to fall below 10 G's.
Yeah, whatever, Judge Judy, come on.
With her are two young men, Alex, a cautious plan maker, and Money, the reckless one. Swiftly, they sweep through the house, grabbing every valuable item they can. The job is quick, clean, and successful. In the car, Rocky and Money talk about how they only need a few more jobs like this before they can leave Detroit behind and start over in California. Alex, however, isn't on board. He wants to stay close to his family, despite the others trying to persuade him to come with them. Soon after, Alex returns home, where we learn that his father owns a home security company and that the trio uses his access to break into houses without setting off any alarms. Elsewhere, Money tries to sell the stolen goods, but the offer he gets is frustratingly low.
Fucking Rolex in there, bro.
What do you think? I'm gonna put it up for auction as Sotheby's.
However, in hopes of making a profit, the buyer gives him something more valuable, a tip about a potential target. A rundown house in a nearly abandoned neighborhood, owned by an elderly Army veteran who appears to live alone. The house also happens to be protected by Alex's father's security company, making it seem like a decent target. At first, both Alex and Rocky question whether there's anything worth stealing in a place like that, where Money responds by explaining the story he heard. Apparently, the man's daughter was run over and killed in an accident by a wealthy family's daughter, and they ended up paying him a large amount of money to settle the case.
This guy is sitting on at least 300K. Boom!
Rocky, immediately interested, sees the opportunity, but Alex turns it down, saying that stealing that large amount of cash would trigger a serious investigation, and they'd get caught.
I'm not doing this one.
We move on to Rocky at her home. She lives with her younger sister, Diddy, in a messy house ruled by their foul-mouthed mother and her jobless boyfriend. The environment is tense and unstable, forcing Rocky to take on the responsibility of caring for her sister.
Your lips look sore. That's how you're making your cash out there? Huh?
She's had enough of living like this and has decided that when she leaves, she's taking Diddy with her to California. But she needs money to make it happen. A lot of money. While they talk, Rocky gets a message from Alex. He's changed his mind about the heist, and they agree to move forward with the plan. Rocky's eyes light up. For her, this isn't just another heist. It's a ticket to a new life for both her and her sister. They begin surveying the house and the surrounding area. Everything seems almost too good to be true. No traffic, no cameras, no police patrols. The entire neighborhood feels like a ghost town, making the house a perfect target. During this time, Alex notices a new tattoo on Rocky's wrist, a small ladybug. When he asks about it, she explains that as a child, when things got bad at home, her mother would lock her in the trunk of a car and leave her there for long periods of time. One time, a ladybug flew in through a small opening and stayed with her, keeping her company. Ever since, it's meant something to her, a reminder that even in the worst moments, she wasn't completely alone. As the trio sits in the car planning the heist, they're suddenly startled by a large, aggressive Rottweiler slamming against the window and barking at them. They quickly realize this isn't just a random dog, it's a guard dog, and they know exactly who it belongs to.
Shit, that's her guy.
Wait, is he blind?
That's kind of fucked up to rob a blind guy, isn't it?
Just 'cause he's blind don't mean he's a fucking saint, bro.
As they watch the man walk by, they realize he's completely blind. Still, this doesn't change anything, and they decide to break in that same night. Hours pass, and night falls over the silent neighborhood. The trio stands ready, watching the house and arguing over whether the man has already fallen asleep. Eventually, they begin. The first step is dealing with the guard dog. Money throws a piece of meat filled with sleeping pills over the fence, and after a few minutes, the barking stops as the animal falls asleep. Now they're clear to enter. But to their surprise, the front door is secured with not just one, but multiple locks requiring different keys, making Alex's father's key alone useless. The windows are also boarded and barred shut. If anything, this only strengthens their belief that there is something worth stealing inside. They decide to try the back instead. Swiftly, they clear the fence and make their way into the backyard, where they find a cellar entrance and the back door. Both entrances are locked tight from the inside and would require force to open, most likely alerting the man inside. Then, Rocky spots a small bathroom window, high on the wall, just big enough for her to fit through. After a moment of hesitation, Alex hands her the remote for the alarm system, and Money boosts her up. Once she reaches the window, she breaks it and slides it open, immediately triggering the alarm countdown. She climbs in quickly and begins searching for the control panel. With only seconds left, she manages to deactivate the alarm. Outside, Alex and Money argue briefly, hinting at Alex's crush on Rocky.
She must have got it by now. She's fine.
Yeah, like you really give a fuck.
What'd you say? That's my bitch in there. Of course I give a fuck.
Before things escalate, Rocky opens the door for them. They leave their shoes at the entrance to avoid making unnecessary noise, then begin searching. They check every cabinet and closet, but there seems to be nothing of real value, certainly not the kind of money they came for. However, they do find a heavily locked door that immediately catches their attention, but forcing it open would make too much noise, so they switch to plan B. Money makes his way into the man's bedroom, where he finds him asleep with the TV still on, showing a video of his deceased young daughter. He takes out a bottle filled with sleeping gas and plans to leave it in the room to make sure the man stays asleep while they break the lock. As Money lets out a subtle noise, the man sits up instantly, scanning the room with his hearing. Money stays completely silent, and eventually, the man reaches over, turns off the TV, and falls back to sleep. Money carefully leaves the leaking bottle in the room and slips away. The trio regroups at the locked door, where Money pulls out a crowbar and begins forcing it open, creating a lot of noise in the process. However, he can't break through the lock, so he makes a desperate move and pulls out a gun, preparing to shoot it.
What the hell is that?
9mm Beretta.
Gangster style, bitches.
Alex gets nervous, saying this wasn't the plan, and tries to convince Rocky to leave before things go wrong. But she refuses, saying she needs this money. Without hesitation, Money makes a makeshift suppressor using a plastic bottle and fires at the lock, breaking it open. Alex decides he's had enough and leaves on his own, while Rocky and Money continue the heist without him. But then, the man appears downstairs.
Who's there?
Okay, man, just chill, alright?
I was wasted and I wandered in, so that was my bad, all right? So I'm just gonna leave, okay?
At first, Money tries to play it cool, saying he stumbled in by accident. But when the blind man accidentally feels the broken padlock on the ground, he knows the lie won't hold. So he turns aggressive, saying he has a gun and that he knows what's hidden behind the door, and he isn't leaving without it. Without a word, the blind man slowly approaches Money, ignoring his warnings.
What the fuck are you doing, you old man? I'll fucking shoot you!
You better fucking stop.
Rocky, afraid to reveal her presence, watches as the blind man attacks Money and quickly overpowers him, taking control of the situation. Now, holding the gun to Money's head, he demands to know how many people are in the house. Money insists he's alone and begs him to let him go. After a tense moment, the man lowers the gun, or so it seems.
Okay, I swear to God.
The man suddenly fires the gun, and Money drops dead to the ground. Rocky, terrified but still unnoticed, slowly backs into a nearby closet to hide. Alex, having heard the gunshot, carefully creeps back into the house and nearly walks straight into the blind man in the hallway. He watches as the man locks the back door and nails shut the window Rocky climbed through, sealing the house completely and leaving both Alex and Rocky trapped inside. Panic sets in as they quietly message each other, trying to understand what just happened. Moments later, the blind man walks directly into the closet Rocky is hiding in. With tears running down her face, she remains completely still, holding her breath. To her surprise, the man moves a section of the wall, revealing a hidden safe. Worried about his money, he enters the code and opens it, only to find that everything is still there. However, He doesn't know that Rocky, hiding just feet away, has now seen the code. She realizes that despite the situation, they can still walk away with the money. Once the man leaves, Alex makes his way to the closet and whispers to Rocky that they need to call the police, but she silences him. Instead, she stands up, enters the code, and completely empties the safe into her bag.
There's a lot more than 300 grand in there. There's gotta be about $1 million.
Okay, let's get out of here.
Now that they have what they came for, they need to get out. Alex suggests using the cellar door, which can be unlocked from the inside, and they realize that the door they opened must lead to the basement. As they approach it, the blind man suddenly steps out, forcing them to freeze in place as he begins dragging Money's body away. In that moment, a small step Alex takes is too loud. The man scans the room with his hearing, pointing the gun directly at Alex and Rocky. After a long and tense moment, the man finally lowers the gun and moves on, allowing Alex and Rocky to slip through the door and into the basement. As the man walks around and passes the back door, he catches a scent. Shoes. He grabs them one by one, counting, and realizes that there are more people in his house than he thought. He rushes back to the safe and opens it again, only to find it completely empty. Back in the basement, Alex and Rocky move quickly through the darkness, making their way toward what they hope is an exit. But what they find instead is something they were not prepared for. Alex and Rocky come across a horrifying sight. A young woman, gagged and chained, held captive in a makeshift prison. She begs them to help her and shows a newspaper article revealing that she is the one who accidentally killed the blind man's daughter. Rocky wants to help her, but Alex insists they don't have time and says they will call the police once they get out. At that moment, they hear footsteps above them, moving toward the basement. The girl quickly points them toward another safe, and using the same code, they open it and find a set of keys. Despite the urgency, they decide to take her with them. Quickly, Alex sets her free, and the trio make their way towards the exit. The blind man ambushes them, firing multiple shots at close range. The bullets only graze Alex and Rocky, but the girl they freed is hit directly in the face and drops to the ground, dead. Alex and Rocky retreat back into the basement to hide, and from the cover, they witness how the blind man approaches the body and reaches down, trying to identify who he killed. To their surprise, when the man realizes he killed the girl he kept imprisoned, he breaks down to cry.
No! No!
Enraged, the man locks the exit again and jams a screwdriver into the lock, making it impossible to open. Alex realizes the keys they found can open the front door upstairs, and they decide to go for it. But as they move, the blind man cuts the power to the house, plunging the basement into complete darkness. Now, Alex and Rocky see what he sees. Nothing. Within seconds, they become separated. Both move silently, trying not to reveal their positions, feeling their way forward. The blind man, however, moves confidently through the space, hunting them with a new level of intensity. And it doesn't take long before he catches them. After a tense and close encounter, Alex and Rocky finally make it out of the basement. But the moment of relief doesn't last long, as the dog they sedated earlier has woken up and is now looking for revenge.
Okay, that's a good boy. He's good. All right, that's good.
The dog attacks, forcing them to flee upstairs and barricade themselves inside a room. Alex, now focused only on surviving, pulls out the alarm remote and attempts to trigger it to bring the police to the house. But Rocky stops him, insisting that if they get caught, all this will be for nothing, as they won't get to keep the money. While they argue, the blind man suddenly slams against the door, trying to break in. Their only escape is a narrow air vent, one that only Rocky can fit through. She hesitates to leave Alex behind, but he insists, and she climbs in. Seconds later, the man forces the door open just enough for the dog to slip in. Violently, Alex is pushed through a window and lands on the entrance's ceiling window below, falling unconscious. Meanwhile, Rocky crawls through the tight vent, but the danger is far from over as the dog crawls after her. She reaches a dead end, and as the bloodthirsty beast closes in, she is forced to drop headfirst into a dark opening below. Seizing the moment, the blind man collects another gun hidden in his room. Moments later, Alex regains consciousness as the fragile glass crackles beneath him. Carefully, he tries to move aside, but the glass shatters, and he falls back into the house. Injured, he struggles to his feet and stumbles forward, but the blind man is already closing in, forcing Alex to hide inside a nearby tool shed where he comes across Money's body. The blind man rushes in, guessing Alex's location and firing the gun. But he guessed wrong. A brutal encounter follows, quickly turning against Alex as the blind man overpowers him, beating him repeatedly before grabbing a pair of garden shears and driving them deep into him. Somewhere between the structures, Rocky wakes up in a painful position. As she regains awareness, she spots an exit vent, a way out. She kicks off the cover and is just seconds away from escaping, but she was too slow. The man attacks again, and despite her struggle, he chokes her unconscious. After some time, Rocky wakes up back in the basement, restrained inside the makeshift prison. Panic sets in, but when she sees the blind man sitting nearby, she calms herself and begins speaking.
I understand you. She killed your daughter. I wanted her to pay. I won't tell anyone.
You understand nothing. She should have gone to prison, but rich girls don't go to jail.
None of this is gonna bring your daughter back.
That's not really true.
The blind man shifts his attention to the dead girl, Cindy, whose body lies nearby. He explains that because Cindy took away his child, he believed it was only fair that she would give him another. The realization hits hard. Cindy was pregnant with his child. But it gets worse, as the man now blames Rocky for her death and declares that she will now take Cindy's place. Meanwhile, upstairs, Alex slowly rises to his feet, badly bruised, but alive. It's revealed that the blind man mistakenly drove the garden shears into Money's body while trying to kill Alex. Unfortunately, it doesn't take long before the dog finds Alex again, but this time he manages to trick it into entering an empty room and locks it inside. He makes his way to the front door, uses the keys, and unlocks it. Now, his freedom is right there, but he hesitates. Before we move on to the final chapter, if you've enjoyed the video so far, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more recaps like this. Now, let's see how this all plays out. Back in the basement, the horror continues. A disturbing scene unfolds as the blind man grabs a jar of his semen, fills a syringe with it, and prepares to impregnate Rocky. While doing this, he monologues, saying that he is not a rapist and never forced himself on Cindy. However, now that she and their child are gone, he is done waiting.
You can't do this to me.
There's nothing a man cannot do once he accepts the fact that there is no God.
No! No, 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 no! No!
Just as he is about to act, blood splatters onto Rocky's face. It's Alex coming to save her. He manages to knock the man down with a hammer, handcuff him to a wall, and quickly free Rocky from her chains. The terror she felt moments ago turns into rage. She attacks him, punching and kicking with everything she has, even grabbing the syringe and shoving it into the man's mouth.
How's that taste?
Rocky wants the man to end up in prison, but Alex states that if they call the police on him and he gets caught, so will they. The man seems defeated, saying that they have what they came for and should just go. Alex and Rocky decide to take the money and leave him. They reach upstairs and head for the door, relieved that this hell is finally over. A gun goes off, and Alex slowly collapses. The blind man has returned once more. Rocky yanks the door open and sprints onto the street. She is out. She is safe. Or so she thinks.
You're worthless out here.
The dog sprints out of the house and straight after Rocky. She runs and makes it to an alley where their car is parked. She jumps inside, the dog only seconds behind her, trying to enter through a slightly open window. Rocky struggles, but manages to close it. In full panic, she searches for the keys but can't find them. She realizes she cannot stay trapped in the car and comes up with a risky plan. She opens the back seat, attaches a rope to the trunk handle, and opens the trunk. Then she waits, and when the dog rushes in, she pulls the trunk shut and kicks the back seat back, trapping the dog inside. She stumbles out of the car, relieved and finally ready to leave all this behind. But she took too long. The blind man knocks her out and drags her across the street, straight back into the house. Rocky wakes up, feeling hopeless at this point. But something unexpected happens. A ladybug, like the one in her story, lands on her hand, and when she focuses her vision, she sees the alarm remote lying nearby. Without hesitation, she grabs it and activates the alarm. The loud, high-pitched alarm is overwhelming, making the blind man's hearing useless, and Rocky uses this to her advantage. She grabs a weapon and begins striking him from all angles. The man is defenseless, completely disoriented by the alarm. With a final blow, Rocky sends the man crashing down into the dark basement, where he now lies still, motionless. Without hesitation, Rocky grabs the bag containing the money and runs away, just as the police arrive to the house. Time passes, and we see Rocky and Diddy at the airport, ready to leave for California, but a nearby news report catches Rocky's attention.
Last night, 2 burglars broke into his home and attempted to rob and brutally attack him. This visually impaired man was able to defend himself, shooting and killing both his attackers on the spot. Now, the man did sustain some injuries, but doctors say he is in stable condition. He'll be released from the hospital soon and able to return to his home.
Thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.